welcome back to Cuckoo for Books. My name is Salva and today I'm going to be doing the Filipino Heroine Book Tag. So I haven't done a video in quite a while, but I couldn't let Women's History Month end without doing something to honor the wonderful women in literature. And just in time, your Tita Kate, who is another Filipino booktuber, and I highly suggest you guys all subscribe to her, created this original book tag. I mean, I hope you'll stick around and watch this book tag, but I also highly recommend checking out the original one because not only does she give the prompts for each book, but she also takes you through a little history lesson of all the Filipino heroines. Her video is just amazing and educational, so check it out if you guys want after this video. But stay on this channel first. Hee. The first Filipino heroine on our list is Gabriela Silang, and the prompt is a book featuring a female leader. And I chose The Confessions of Catherine de Medici by C.W. Gortner. So obviously with female leaders, my mind went straight to the royals, but what I love about Catherine is that she wasn't born a royal. She was born freaking loaded for sure, but she wasn't actually of royal blood. She married into the royal house of France and she became queen consort, but her husband died, then her eldest son died, and then afterwards the next son in line was underage, so she had to step in and take over a bit of the ruling herself. I wanted to give a shout out to one of my favorite figures, Catherine, because she wasn't born royal and yet she managed to become a female leader in her own right, ruling over France when her sons were underage. The next Filipina heroine and prompt would be Nieves Fernandez, and the prompt is a book featuring a female character who joined a revolution. I wanted to feature Tamora Pierce's Hang On, Let Me Explain before you groan at another Tamora Pierce mention in my book tags, okay? This is really accurate. So this is part of the Daughter of the Lioness duology, and it starts off with our heroine Ali, and she essentially gets sold into white slavery. She gets sent to the Copper Isles, which is the fantastical realm version of Indonesia. The revolution around it, based on what the author said at the end of the book, is also sort of based around the colonization of real-life Indonesia. So when Ali gets shipped off to the Copper Isles, she meets two ladies of the aristocracy, Dove and Sarai. All three of them do join the revolution. So the Daughter of the Lioness duology does have some magical elements, some gods and goddesses and all that fun, magical, fantastical stuff. But the main plot of the duology is really the Copper Isles revolting against their colonizers, so I thought this would be a really appropriate book to answer this prompt, especially for the Filipina Heroine Book Tag, especially for Women's History Month, so I think it's very appropriate. So the next Filipina heroine mentioned is Liliosa Hilao, and the prompt is a female character who is a journalist or a writer, and I went with The 13th Tale by Diane Satterfield. This book is told from the point of view of two women writers, so I thought this was the perfect book to mention. But in present day, we hear from the perspective of young author Margaret Lee, who interviews this legendary author named Vida Winter. Her life has been shrouded in mystery and nobody knows where she came from. She just started writing, and now that she's old and decrepit, she wants to tell the story of her life and she wants to tell people where she came from. And that's why it's called The 13th Tale, because she only ever published 12 books in her lifetime and all have been classics, and now it's time for her to tell the 13th tale to Margaret Lee. But if you like stories with creepy mansions and family secrets and kind of scary twins, definitely check this book out. The next Filipina heroine we're covering is Rosa Henson, and the prompt is a female character who has overcome personal tragedy. And I'm gonna go back into mainstream YA for a bit. Personal tragedy. Ugh. I had to go with none other than Nina Zenik from King of Scars. King of Scars is the third series in Leigh Bardugo's Grishaverse. It's a fantasy where there are these people called the Grisha in that world, so they can manipulate things like the elements or metals or chemicals or even people's blood flow themselves. That sounds really gross. I love this fantasy series so much, and it's gonna be a Netflix series soon. Maybe you want to read the books before it comes out. If you've read the series preceding this, the Six of Crows duology, you'll know exactly what kind of personal tragedy Nina is going through in King of Scars, but I thought it was handled so well. This book starts off with Nina dealing with survivor's guilt and her grief and how she's gonna move on, and I think it does a really good job. She has been through a lot. You don't know how she's gonna get back up, but you see her in this book not only getting back up, but still using her powers for good and helping those around her. The next woman we're featuring who also had an impact on Filipino history would be Gliceria Villavicencio, and the prompt is a female character who came from a wealthy background, and my choice would be Hannah Donnelly from Gemina, the second book in the Illuminae Files. The Illuminae Files are sci-fi and they're told in epistolary form. I've mentioned them so many times in my book tags. Hannah Donnelly is the daughter of the captain of the space station she lives in, so she's loaded, she can just snap her fingers and daddy gets her a new spacesuit. But what I love about her is when push came to shove, and push literally came to shove in this book, she used all her privilege, she used everything she learned from, you know, all the lessons she got growing up, all the strategy, all the books she had to read, all the training she received one-on-one from her coach that she could afford. She used all of that into saving her fellow citizens on the space station. She's such an amazing, kick-ass, selfless character. She's definitely one of my favorite badass chicks in YA. The next Filipino heroine is Remedios Paraiso-Gomez, and the prompt is a book with a traditionally feminine female character. Now I have another Tamora Pierce answer, but I will give a really good explanation, I think. I feel like I'm gonna like defend my thesis. When I read this prompt that Kate made, only one character popped up like straight away in my mind, and it would be Varys Kingford from Emperor Mage. This is from the Immortals Quartet. So this is a fantasy series set in a world less Lord of the Rings, more Game of Thrones, I would say. So there are these people who are mages and warriors and knights and royals, and I love Varys Kingford. She's not a big character in this book. She's definitely not. She's not even a secondary character. I'd barely call her a tertiary character. She's actually someone that our heroine Dane resents and is jealous of. So towards the end of the book, Dane confronts her and says, like, you're such a powerful mage. Why is this your job? Why do you work as some king's glorified party planner? You basically just select food to be on the menu and throw parties. Varys, in the middle of everything that's going on, says, so what? Yes, I have powers and I like pretty things. I choose to use my powers to create fanciful desserts and throw amazing parties and make nice dresses and just be girly. We don't all have to save the world. We don't all have to make this big historical impact. I like pretty things and dresses and fashion and style, and that's what I'm putting my powers towards. I read this like a decade ago for the first time, and I've read it every year since. It was such a small interaction in this book, but it's always stuck with me since. The next Filipina heroine we're featuring is Melchora Aquino, also known as Tandang Sora, and the prompt is a book with a female doctor, nurse, caretaker, or other healthcare provider. Now, you guys know that I tend to read more fantastical, period, historical books. In my mind, doctors and nurses equal healers in the fantasy world. I would definitely go with Irene Towers for my favorite female healer. I love me some Throne of Glass books, and Tower of Dawn is technically a spin-off. This whole series is about an assassin named Selena Sardothian and her journey through life. I don't want to give anything away. Let's just say it's her journey through life and things. It goes way past being an assassin, just by the way. If you guys have watched my book review of this, you know I started this book fully prepared to hate her, and like 20 pages in, I was like, goodness, I love her more than most characters in the other Sarah J. Maas book. Next up, we have Josefa Llanes Escoda, and the prompt is a book with a female character who fights for women's rights. One last, guys, stick with me. I'm sorry, this is all I know. I am a niche reader. What can I say? Am I a niche reader though, or does Tamora Pierce write just a lot of strong, diverse female characters that you guys should go read? One last Tamora Pierce character for the road, and I am going with Keladri of Mindalan from Tamora Pierce's Protector of the Small Quartet. In this book, girls are finally allowed to try out for knighthood, so to be a page, a squire, and eventually a knight. They're allowed to do all that, finally. The first series in this world was about Alana, who had to fake being a boy to become a knight. Generations later, Keladri is finally allowed to try out as a girl, but she's the only girl. This book over the years grew on me because of how realistically it portrayed the struggles that girls face when they work or choose a generally male-dominated path in life. I would say out of all of this series, a lot of them are really like based on fantasy and magic and all that. This, I think, is her most grounded series to date. Second to the last Filipina heroine is Agueda Kahabagan, and the prompt is a female character who fought fiercely during a war. Now, I was thinking, do I want to mention a fantastical war, a historical war? I like both, and I thought, why not mix up a little bit of fantasy and reality and mention Wolf by Ryan Grodin. Now, this is set in an alternate universe where Hitler actually wins the Second World War, and our protagonist is Yael, who was sent to the concentration camps as a child and who had experiments done on her by the Third Reich. As a result, she has become a shapeshifter. It sounds completely bonkers, but the Nazis were trying to experiment changing a person's race, and something went wrong with her, so now she's able to shift appearances. She can shapeshift the way she looks. Every year since the Second World War, there has been a motorcycle race as like a, woo, we won, bad guys won, from Europe to Asia. So Germany to Japan. What she does is she transfigures her face to look like the perfect Nazi girl, because the winner of the motorcycle race gets an up-close and personal encounter with Hitler. So she gon' stab him. It's a very exciting book. I just love the exact mix it has of history and fantasy, two of my favorite genres, you know that. And for our last Filipina heroine, we have Carmen Rosales, and the prompt is a book featuring a female character who works as an actress. I had a little bit of a crisis when I thought about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know any books with actresses except for Secrets of My Hollywood Life, which I read when I was like 11. But I watched Kate's video, and she also mentioned that anybody who works in the entertainment industry could be included, so I'm going to go with Layla from The Gilded Wolves. The Gilded Wolves, like Wolf by Wolf, is also a sort of alternative history. When the Tower of Babel fell from the Bible, certain fragments fell to the ground, fell to earth, and it became this sort of like power source of magic and knowledge. And one society cropped up in particular to help protect the fragments, because you cannot move the fragments, because if the Babel fragments move, chaos will be unleashed upon earth. You know, like your typical like adventure curse thing. In The Gilded Wolves, Layla is from India and she comes to France in the hopes for searching for something to help her answer who she truly is. And that sounds like really cliche, but no. She needs to literally know who or what she is for her to live. Now, when she arrived in France, she started working as a dancer, and she assumes this performer alter ego that I will not try to pronounce because I would probably butcher the French language. Out of all the recent reads I've had, I think she's like the only performer I've read. I don't know a lot of books with protagonists or characters who work in the performing arts industry. I'm having quite the revelation. If you have any suggestions, do leave them down in the comments below. That about does it. That was our last Filipina heroine for this book tag. Thank you, Kate, for creating this tag. This was probably one of my favorite tags to do in quite a while. You can follow me on my other bookish adventures. On Twitter, I'm at Cuckoo for Books, and on Instagram, I'm at Cuckoo for Books, and also at Salva Villarosa. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys!